Hello, welcome to Z Talk. In the first session of Kafka, we've gone through fundamentals and played out Kafka CLI a little bit. We should have a good understanding of Kafka architecture now, right? I think it's time for us to go ahead and write some code because, most of our cases, we will use programming to reproduce what the CLI does and even more, right? So this session, we're going to directly jump to the demo. I'd like to walk you through how do we write a producer and a consumer in Java. And I attached a link to the previous session about Kafka fundamentals and CLI, just in case you haven't got a chance to watch it or just want to review what we've learned in the previous session. All right? Okay, let's get started and start programming. By the way, remember thumb up my video and subscribe if you think it's good, and leave comment if you have any questions. All right? Cool. Okay, first thing first, open up whatever IDE that you feel comfortable with. Here, I'm gonna open IntelliJ for this demo. And I'm gonna create a new project for this demo here. Firstly, you got two options here, Maven or Gradle. Basically, they're the same thing to manage the packages for your projects. Is based on your personal preference. Here, I'm gonna choose Maven, right? And next, you're gonna pick a SDK for this project. I'll go with Java 1.8, right? Click next. Here, give a name of a project. I will call it Kafka demo ZZ Talk. All right, and for group ID, it's gonna be my I will use my GitHub username. All right, that's pretty much it. Then click finish. All right. So here, the first thing we have is the file called pom.xml. It's just an XML file which contains all my dependencies for this project. So what I'm gonna do here is to add the Kafka dependency and a logging dependencies to this project. That's the preparation before we start our coding. All right. So the best thing to do here is just do Google Maven Kafka, and here we go, and it lands the Maven repository, and here you can see there are bunch of dependencies for Apache Kafka. So a quick note here, what you need to choose here is the first one called Kafka clients. Click that, and here it lists out all the version available for your download, right? So I will just pick the latest version, 3.0. Click that, and here we go. You can see there are different tabs. Basically, is for different package manager. So for my case, I will use Maven, the default one. And all you need to do, you just need to copy this block of code right here and then switch back to your IDE. So IntelliJ, and all I need to do, I just need to add a section called dependency, and then just paste that block of code you just copied in the Maven repository, paste it here, right? And now you got the dependencies, and next you need to install these dependencies to your project, right? So all you need to do is you see here on the top right of the IntelliJ console, and there is the tab called Maven. Just click that, and all you need to do here, this is our project, right, that we just created, Kafka demo ZZ Talk. All you need to do is just click this refresh button. So Maven is going to take care of the rest. It's going to download and install the dependency that it added to the project. See here, there's the folder created called dependencies, and expand it out. You will see, the Kafka CLI dependency were added to the runtime. All right, so that's pretty much it. All right, another dependencies like we talked about, we're gonna add another dependency for log. I'm gonna use slab4j simple because I wanna log stuff in our code, right? So here, actually, with the latest version, Kafka 3.0, the SL4J is already included in the dependency of Kafka clients. So good. So we don't have to add in that logger dependency separately. So if you use an older version of Kafka, it was not added. So if you need to add a dependency for logging, so same thing, you just need to switch back to the Maven repository and just search for SLF4J simple, and here we go. And you can do the same thing like what I did for Kafka client. Click the latest version that you want to include and just copy this block of code and add it to the pom XML. That's it. All right, that's all the preparation we have to take care of. I think now we're good to start coding. All right. Okay, let's start with Kafka Producer. Here I've already created a Java class called Kafka Producer, and on the right side I kinda list out the framework of this class gonna look like. Generally there will be 3 steps. So firstly, I'm gonna create producer properties. Properties is kind of like similar, like the arguments followed by the Kafka CLI commands. If you still remember when we were playing with Kafka CLI, for example, a Bootstrap server, right? Right after the consumer console or producer console CLI commands, we had to use the Bootstrap server argument to instruct Kafka CLI where our brokers are, right? So we're gonna do the similar things right here in our Java code, right? That's step 1. And once the property is set up, we're going to create our producer. And finally, once producer is ready, we're going to send data, right? So let's back to step 1. The next question you may ask, what specific properties are required here? So to answer that question, I'm going to refer to the Kafka documentation. So let me switch to my browser, and here under configuration section, see there's a subsection called producer config, and on the right side it lists out all the producer properties available for our consideration, and there are a bunch of it, right? So for this demo, I just keep it as simple as possible. So I'm only gonna include the most important, or you can say the properties that are required, that are mandatory, right? So which are the first 3 properties? So let's start with the third one, Bootstrap server. I believe we've already quite familiar with these property. Basically, it's just instruct the or brokers information, like host followed by the ports, right? That's Bootstrap.servers. And here I want to talk a little bit more about key serializer and value serializer. So basically, these two serializers help the producer know what type of value I'm gonna send to Kafka and how these type of value gonna be serialized to bytes. Remember, Kafka clients will convert whatever we send to Kafka into bytes, right? So for our case, we're gonna send strings, just like what I demoed in the console producer in the last session. All right, so we're gonna need a string serializer for both key and value. Good thing is Kafka has a bunch of serializers are available for us to use directly. So all we need to do is just type string serializer. That's it. So speaking of that, let's jump back to IDE and let's start defining properties. So firstly, I'm gonna use the property class. And here, this is a cool things for IntelliJ. C is automatically import the class for me, right? And equal to new properties, and now props.set properties. Let's start with the bootstrap the servers. And right after this property, we have to pass something to this property, right? So definitely we can define like a variable and store or store like a string. It's our broker information, like for example, if IP followed by port, stored to a string, and then we pass that variable to these properties. Okay, so I'll say string. I'll give a name as bootstrap name equal 127.0.0.1. The default port is 9092. All right, and then we just pass this variable bootstrap server bootstrap name to these property. All right, that's it. Let's move to the next one, props dot set property, and this time let's do key deserializer. Let me leave the second part here a little bit, and let me copy the same thing here and put in the next line. This is for value dot serializer. All right, and here we need to same thing. We need to pass something to these properties. And remember, like I said, all we need to do is just type string serializer, because it's like Kafka has those serializers available for us to use directly, right? So we just need to type string serializer for both key deserializer and value deserializer. Dot class dot get name. All right, so we need to import this class. Same thing for value deserializer. It's gonna be string serializer dot class dot get name. All right, that's it. So here, this pretty much how we define the produce properties. But you may notice here, what I've done so far was basically hard code in the properties. It works, but actually there's a better way to make the code more robust or cleaner, right? is called producer config, which is part of the Apache Kafka client's producer class. So let me show you how to do that. All right, it's pretty simple. All I need to do is just replace these hard coding producer properties with the a class called producer config. So let me show you what I'm talking about. So I will just comment these 3 lines of code, and then I'm gonna create a new one. Same thing, props.set property. Sorry, props set property, and here instead of the hard coding the properties here, I just call this producer config class. Okay, and here, as you can see, it lists out all the producer properties available. Right, and let's start with the same property bootstrap server config, right? And then the rest is the same, but we're gonna pass these string variables to this property, right? That's it. So same thing for the other 2 properties, key serializer and value serializer, and I just pick the properties, and the rest the same. Right, so now I can just delete these 3 lines of codes, and yeah, now it's look much better, right? All right, we're done with the properties. Now we are good to move forward to step 2, create producer. So to create a Kafka producer, we're gonna use the class called Kafka producer here, right? And new Kafka producer. Here we're gonna include whatever properties that we define as step 1 here, right? So a quick note right here for these producer. Oh, sorry, there's a typo. These producer Kafka producer class. Beside of these, we're gonna need to define the type of key value pairs. So for doing that, I'm gonna put a string here, and same thing right after here, string. So basically it just defines the key will be a string and the value will be a string as well. So if you take a look at the source code of this class, so you get better understanding here. So you see here the key serializer and value serializer, and as per our discussion in step 1, we're gonna use string serializer for both. That's why I put string here, right? That's pretty much how do we create a Kafka producer, right? So we got our producer ready to send data. We just use producer send. That's it. All right. Oh, actually, wait a second. So here we actually missed a step. So we got our producer ready and we're ready to send data, but what message are we gonna send, and where do we want to send that message to? We haven't got a chance to define that, right? We need to define that before we send the message. So speaking of which, let's add one more step before send data. So let me note it down. We're gonna need to create a producer record, right? So producer record, again, is also a key value pair. So you see the hint right here for the class. So the key will be a string, and value will be a string as well. And new producer gonna be a string, and so
the first string, the key, will be the name of the topic. So let's give a name of our topic. Let's call it ZZ actually Z Talk demo. All right, and the second value will be the actual message we're gonna push to this topic. I will, hey, welcome to the talk to learn Kafka. Right? So that's pretty much it. So we just create a record. Now we're ready to send the records by including the record we just create. Right? That's it. So now we can, this is pretty much a simple Kafka producer. So let's test it out. To test it out if it works, if we can send this message to this ZTalk demo topic. Let me jump back to my terminal. So I'm gonna open up a consumer console from the terminal, so we can monitor if this new message will be pushed to this ZTalk demo topic. So one more thing. So as you can hear, back to my terminal. So first thing first, as you see here, I just make sure the Kafka and Zookeeper services are up and running, right? And now we're good to test out. But if you remember in our last session, we talked about a couple of best practices, right? One of the best practices about creating topics is that, remember, always, create a topic before producing message to it, right? So we haven't got a chance to create a topic. We just give a name of a topic, but we haven't created a topic yet. So let's follow the best practices and create a topic here. So hopefully you still remember how do we create a Kafka topic from Kafka CLI. So it's pretty easy. So Kafka topics, Bootstrap server, localhost, the default port 9092, and the topic, we're gonna call it what do we call that? ZTalk demo. Right? And create. And for this topic, we're gonna have 3 partitions, and replication factor will be 1. Remember, because we only have one broker for our testing environments, I can only set replication factor as 1 right here. All right, so looks good. So hit enter. All right, so as you can see, we successfully created a topic called ZTalk demo. ZTalk demo. All right, so now let's see if we can run this code, and let's see if we can push this message to this ZZTalk demo. So for doing that, we need to open up Kafka consumer console consumer, and we're gonna take a look. The topic, now ZZTalk, is the new one called ZTalk demo, and the group I will call it ZZTalk demo, same as the topic will be ZTalk demo, and group will be ZTalk demo as well. Hit enter. All right, so it's listening the new messages from these coming to these topic. So here, let's run this code. Here, let's run this code. All right, so it's done. So let's switch back to the terminal. Nothing happened. What's wrong? All right, to explain why there was nothing happen on the consumer side, actually it comes another quick note for these Kafka producer and send method. So when you create a producer, right, and you send data, so this is actually asynchronous. So what asynchronous means, so means it's gonna happen in the background. So once it's being executed, basically the program exits, right? And the data is never sent. To wait for the data to be produced, you're gonna have to do a producer flush or producer close. So basically same thing. So close is like a combination. First, it's gonna flush and then close the producer, right? So let's test it out. So after the send, I'm gonna do a producer dot close, and let's run this again and see what's the difference. Switch back to the terminal. Here we go. You see the message, hey, welcome to ZTalk to learn Kafka, was successfully being pushed to our topic. All right, so that's pretty much the producer. So let's keep going. Okay, so we've created a simple Kafka producer so far and verified it works just fine, right? But actually, we can make it even better. Just imagine, would it be nice if we had an option to understand like where the messages were produced, and if those messages were produced correctly, and like what's the offset value and partition number, all those information. If we were able to track those information and store in a log, it will be really helpful just in case something goes wrong and we need to troubleshoot, right? So actually that can be done quite easily, and that can happen without changing much of our existing codes. Like back to my code base, here we don't have to change anything until send method. So let's take a look the source code of send method again and to see if we have other options out there. So let's go to the source code, and here we go. And you can see there is a class called callback. That's exactly the class can make or which happen. So let me cancel it out and back to my code. So after the record, let's use this class called callback, right? Callback. And if you just hit tab, IntelliJ is able to complete the section of code automatically for you. So pretty cool. And here you see there's the class called record metadata. So if we use this record metadata, and here you can see it lists out all a bunch of methods that post the information that we want to track, like topic, offset, partition, timestamps. That's exactly what we're looking for, right? So now everything is more clear, right? What we need to do, we just need to create a logger and put whatever information we're gonna track out of these methods and store them in the log. All right, sounds good. Now we just need to create a logger. So let's do that real quick. So here, let's create a logger. Logger factory, get logger, and so let's import these class first. Import, we're gonna use SLF4J, right? And same thing for logger factory. Get logger, so we want to get log of our class called Kafka producer demo. So let's put in inside of these and dot class. That's it. So we got the logger. Now we just need to back to these section, we need to create a little condition to construct the format of our log, right? Cool. So here I'm gonna create a simple condition. I already noted down what the conditions for, right? So execute every time if a record is sent successfully or an exception is gonna throw, right? Here's the exception. So let me start with the case where the record is sent successfully, right? So here I'm gonna use the if condition. If exception equals to null, basically it means the records was sent successfully. So if that's the case, gonna log whatever information we discussed earlier to the log. So logger.info, and here this is gonna be the format. I'm gonna include the the topic, partition, offset, and along with a timestamp, right? So let me adjust the indentation here to make the code look better. All right, so cool. So that's pretty much it. So else, if the record is not sent successfully, we need to then the next exception will be thrown, right? So else, here we're gonna have that exception logged out as well. So error here we go. We're gonna say error while producing, and we're gonna include that exception here. All right, that's pretty much it. Well, something wrong here. So it seems there is no this info class. What's going on? Probably it's because of the dependency. Like mentioned in the pom.xml, I did not include the dependency for simple log4j because I saw inside these Kafka clients the SLF4j was already included. Maybe I still have to do that. So let me go to the Maven repository and just search for SLF4j simple and search for that. Here we go, and let's use the latest version. So copy this code and put in inside of the dependency. Here I'm gonna add these dependency. So by the way, I need to take these out, this scope out, because I wanna these SF4J cover the whole code, not just test, right? So you can just comment it out or just take this line out of the dependency. All right, so that's it. Let's reload. Oh, okay, here we go. The dependency was added. So let's switch back to the code. Here, instead of import these two class, so we have to import these or this guy, which that we just included in our dependency. Here we go. Same thing for import class and this guy. All right, so now you see here the info method is available, so we should be good to go. So let's run these one more time. So, all right. So see, so there are a bunch of information being recorded, and in this section, this is exactly what we define in our logger, right? So receive new metadata here, and partition, and offset, and the topic where the message was pushing to, right? So let's run one more time. We can see now this time the message was pushed to partition 2, right? Cool. That's what exactly what we're looking for. Cool. All right. Now let's move along to consumer. Since we already had a good understanding of how do we create a producer, so I believe it's going to be a piece of cake for you to create a consumer because it's quite similar, right? So here, to save us some time, I wrote it down the code ahead of time. So let me walk you through line by line real quick. The framework is gonna be quite similar, right? Compared with producer, right? So we're gonna create consumer properties first, and then we step 2 we create our consumer. Once consumer is ready, the step 3 we're gonna subscribe our consumer to a topic or multiple topics, and last but not least, we subscribe to the topics, and then we're ready to pull data out of the topics, right? That's the plan. So let's step back to step 1, consumer properties. Same thing like producer properties. There's a equivalent class called consumer config to make our codes more robust or cleaner, right? So here, same thing. Let me switch to my browser to the documentation real quick to take a look at the configuration for consumer this time. Consumer. So on the right side, it lists out all the consumer properties. And again, I'm only going to add the properties that are required. So look similar for you, like the first 3, like Bootstrap server, which is exactly the same as the property that we use in producer, right? So the first 2 is also similar, a little bit different. So instead of serializer in producer side, so here for consumer it's called deserializer because it does the exactly opposite way compared with producer. So for producer, as we know, so what it does is gonna convert whatever we send to Kafka into bytes, right? On the consumer side, on the other hand, what it does is to revert it back to what it was, right? That's why it's called deserializer, right? So let's switch back to the IDE, and here we go. So same like serializer, there is a bunch of deserializer available for us, like string deserializer. So for both key and value, we're gonna use string deserializer. All right. So that's the first 3 properties. So for consumer, we're gonna need another 2 properties. The first, the third one, the first one is line 26. It's called group ID config. What is that about? So group ID. So let me switch to my terminal. I still have my Kafka console consumer open. It's still listening. Take a look here. The last argument, I was using group, and I give a name of this group called ZTalk demo. So basically, this is exactly what these properties for. Same thing. So I've created a string variable right here, and I'm gonna pass the same name that I created here in my console, ztalk demo, and pass this variable to this property, right? Last but not least, this is another important properties for consumer. It's called auto offset reset config. So for this specific property, we got three options, and which is latest, earliest, or none. So I guess the most options we use will are the first options, earliest, either earliest or latest. All right. So basically, earliest means that we want to read from the very beginning of our topics, right? And on the other hand, latest means it's gonna be, we just read the new message only going forward, and none means it's gonna throw in an error if there is no offset being saved, something like that. All right, so that's pretty much so auto offset reset config. So here I just use latest. All right, so now we're done with properties. Then we can move forward to create our first consumer. So again, similar like producer, there is a class called Kafka consumer, and it's quite similar like Kafka producer. And similar thing here, we need to define the type for the key value pairs. So the key will be a string type, and the value will be string as well. And we need to pass whatever properties that we defined at step 1 to our Kafka consumer, right? So once consumer is created, we need to subscribe or consumer to a topic or multiple topics. Here we go. This is there is the method called subscribe. So there is basically there's the subscribe API available for us, which can take either a pattern or a collection of topics. So for our case, I only have one topic called ztalk demo right here. So I create a string variable and pass that ztalk demo, the name of our topic, to this variable, and we're gonna pass this variable to the basically we're gonna subscribe this single topic. That's why we're using a class called collection and collection.singleton. So it basically means we're only gonna subscribe these one single topic called ztalk demo, right? Of course, we're able to subscribe multiple topics, like I said. Like here, I made a comment like example. So we can do something like this. We can put the topics into a list, so we can subscribe the as many as topics at once, right? So we just do consumer, collection, and array as list, and we put whatever topic, the name of topics here inside of this list, right? So that's subscribe. So once we subscribe to a topic or topics, so we're ready to pull data from that topic. And here, for demo purpose, I think a while true loop will be good enough. So here, the return type is going to be a consumer records, and so it's gonna be, we're gonna pull that data out of the topics, right? We're gonna use a duration of milliseconds. So here we're gonna define the duration. So it's gonna be here. I can use 100 milliseconds. Basically means that the polling interval will be 100 milliseconds. So during this time frame, there will be bunch of records, multiple records being pulled out from the topics, right? So that's why we're gonna need a for loop to loop each of the records from this poll, right? So that's what it's about. So we're gonna loop each one of the records here, and then the last section we're gonna use the logger we created here and log things to our logs. So like the key value, a partition, offsets, just similar like the things I demoed in the producer part, similar like that. So that's pretty much the code for consumer. So let's kick it off and see how that goes. So let me run Kafka consumer. Here we go. And now consumer is listening. Let me put some space right here so we can see once I kicked off producer to to produce some message to our topic, and so we can easily verify if we're able to consume those message that were produced from the producer, right? So let me switch to the producer to kick it off. Producer. All right, so here it just produced some message, and the message was produced to topic ztalk demo and at partition 2 offset 5, right? So now let's switch back to consumer. Here we go. See, hey, welcome to ztalk to learn Kafka and partition 2 offset 5. All right, that's pretty much what I wanna demo today. So now we should have the really a good understanding of how do we use Kafka CLI, and then how do we use Kafka in our Java programming. All right, so more things to come. So in the next session we're gonna go more like real world use cases for Kafka. So stay tuned. I'll see you next week. Thank you.
Alright, thank you for watching my video. If you think this video is helpful, you're more than welcome to leave any comments. Remember, thumb up, subscribe my video, and also hit the notification bell. See you next time.